Hi, everybody. I have a couple of stories I would like to talk about today. And um, the two stories are not really related, but I feel there is a thread in both stories that speaks of our own power and our own beauty. And in many cases, we don't see that. And especially in the first story, it is a story about propaganda, actually, and how it can be used against us because the people that are engaging in that do know our power. So the first story, let me just get right to it. It takes place in the 1950s, and it was a time when there were an increasing amount of conveniences, especially in the home, in the kitchen, and there were appliances and vacuum cleaners and things that were becoming in more common usage to make life easier for the housewife. So Betty Crocker had put together a cake mix, and they spent a lot of time and money just figuring out how they can put a cake mix where all you had to do was add water. So it would be the ultimate convenience. And they did just that. And they boxed it and they put it on the shelves. Just add water, you have a beautiful cake. And it did not sell. Didn't sell. They were pretty upset about it because, as I said, they had invested quite a lot of time and money. And so they did talk to some women as to why wouldn't they use this incredibly easy cake mix. And the feedback was, it was almost like there was a feeling of guilt. And the women, they did not want to give that to their family. They felt that it was cheating their family just to add water and have this cake mix. And they felt it was more special if something came from their kitchen, because then it was imbued with love for their family. So Betty Crocker, of course, they didn't want to spend money changing the product in order to meet the demands of the people. Rather than that, what they did was they went to a big New York ad agency and they discussed this problem with the head of the ad agency. And they wanted to know how they could sell this product as is, what they had to do to make it sell. So it didn't take long for the ad agency, for the head of the agency to say, look, you don't have to change the formula at all. Just one thing you need to do. All you need to do is write on the box, add 1 egg. Add an egg. And they did exactly that. In fact, they had it written on 3 different places in the box. And they emphasized, I'm going to paraphrase, that this cake is wonderful and for your family because you add the egg. You add the egg. And as I said, they emphasized that. And it worked. And the sales took off. And even today, we still have those Betty Crocker cake mixes, but at some point they changed it to 2 eggs. But as you can see, it was the ad agency that knew our psyche, the psyche of the woman, especially the woman, the importance of adding life, because what women give to life, of course, is the eggs. So it had a profound effect on the, again, on the psyche of the women, because now they were adding life to give to their family. They were adding the egg. They were adding what they felt was love. So again, it's, to me, it's a pretty powerful story of how it can be manipulated, but only because they understand the power that we have. And when we understand our own power and our own creativity, think of how much further we can go in our own lives, or even as a race. So the second story, we have to go back a little further in history. Now, I'm not, history buff or anything, so I'm going to do my best, to relate this story to you, and forgive me if I make any small error, but this is a true story. So we're going to go back 101 years, and it's a Christmas time. Now, in Europe, World War I was in full force. And, wars were fought differently then. So the soldiers were in trenches, okay, and the Germans were in a trench, and the French and the British, and in the center was what was called no man's land, and there was, crossfire, and of course it was no man's land because you didn't want to go there; you would be shot and killed. And what happened as Christmas approached was the German soldiers started to put some candles around their trench and on little small Christmas trees. They started to sort of decorate their area. And on Christmas Eve, the Germans started to sing carols, Christmas carols. And what happened next is really quite beautiful and amazing, because then it kind of spread. And then on the other side, the British started to sing Christmas carols, and the French. And they were singing, they were standing strong in their own beliefs and the passion of what they felt was true and right and pure and divine. And what happened next is they started to come out of their trenches, and they met on no man's land, and they offered each other Christmas greetings. They offered each other little small gifts, whatever they might have, tobacco and buttons and little things. They connected with each other through the love of the human heart. There was a ceasefire, complete ceasefire. They gathered some of the recently dead and jointly and in a very reverent manner buried them. And they drank together, and they shared stories, trying to understand each other's language if they didn't already speak that language. And in some areas they played soccer. This spread and spread through the night and all Christmas Day. And it's spread to be considered to about 100,000 men engaging in this beautiful behavior of this ceasefire and this honoring each other. I think that story speaks for itself. It is so beautiful. It touches me every time I think about that story. And again, look at the power that those men had. They got in a heck of a lot of trouble the next day. So on December 26th, when the higher-ups of each of the armies found out what happened, I mean, they just weren't having that. And there was extreme reprimands for the soldiers because, the people that really want the wars and start the wars aren't the men in the trenches, but, that ruling elite. So they made sure that wouldn't happen. But look at the power that those men had through standing and honoring their own belief and that connection. A lot to be learned there, I feel. Now, I do occasionally like to do a little reading, so just with that in mind, our own strength and power, I want to do a short reading with, this is the Messenger Oracle. This is an older Oracle deck. Just to see, what the deck might say, even if it's just a superficial level, really, just to get us started on that topic of how do we get to know ourselves, to then, therefore, be ourselves and honor that. So I think I'll do 3 cards. Okay, so I got them spread out here. And let me just try this one here. The first one that came up, it says, surrender to the flow. And that is what it looks like. So, surrender to the flow that is within us, our own intuition, our higher self, and that of our beliefs in the universe, rather than the propaganda, right? Like in the egg story, and rather than the war machine in the second story. So I think that is what the soldiers were really doing. They got in that flow because of the passion of their heart and their belief. That is a good flow to be in. And we can get that way when we're a little quiet and we listen and we feel and we meditate and we go within. One more card here. Okay. The next card says, embrace the dark. I didn't expect that. But that speaks to this topic because, you know, when you're embracing the dark, it's not always about the dark within us, but sometimes the darkness without us. You know, the darkness of being manipulated, the darkness of whether it's war or people after our own well-being or our own psyche. So to recognize what is dark within and without us is to bring light to it. And when we shine light and bring truth to any topic, it helps us to have a deeper understanding of the world and of ourselves, and then become and grow in that. Let's take the third card. Okay, this feels good. Let's see what this is. The two, let two become one. This happens so often when I'm doing a reading here on YouTube. This male and female message comes through so often. But, you know, it has a lot of sides. So if we're looking at what we're talking about and having the two become one, you know, that inner and outer understanding merging together, and the dark and the light merging together for bigger light and for truth, I think is something that really goes along with the reading. But, you know, once again, it's still showing the idea of us merging together our own male and female. And I've talked about this so many times. But I think it comes up when I do these readings on YouTube because it is profound and it is powerful when we can do that, when we can merge our active and passive sides, our intuitive and again, active side. So that is that reading. I hope you did enjoy the stories. They really do mean a lot to me. So if you have any stories that you'd like to share back, I'd love to hear. And bye for now. I will see you soon. Happy holidays.